if you hear any weird noises coming from next door, it's my girlfriend. She's working on some university work stuff. It's my voice doing goal because it's a football game thing. It's not important. I thought I'd warn ahead of time. If you hear weird noises, that's what that is. Hi, if you've clicked on this video, there are a few possibilities as to why. You saw the thumbnail and was like, yes, this looks entertaining, in which case you have low standards. The second possibility is that you used to watch my channel when I made content, which was just me vlogging and occasionally dubstep stuff because teenagers. And all that shit. I mean, I was older than a teenager, embarrassingly older than my teenage years. The third option is that you followed a link either from wpcomicslimited.com, I think, should know the name of that address, but I don't, or you've gone from a Facebook post or a Twitter post of me mentioning this video as something to do with my comic, which is called Mort, and is coming out tomorrow, Friday the 6th of May 2016, and I'm just doing a video talking about it, so let's do that. Yeah, I have made a comic with a company called WP Comics, who are an independent British comic company, and it's coming out tomorrow, so I've made this video to talk about how it was made, why it was made, just the process of making the comic, really. That's the whole premise of this video, so if that's not what you want to see, you might want to click away. Mort is a comic I made, or wrote anyway, about a year and a half ago. I saw an advert for a comics company looking for writers and illustrators, and at the time was looking for more work with writing. I've done several bits of usually non-contracted writing work for different magazines or websites. Nothing huge, but bits to pay bills with. Saw this advert for a comic book company who were looking for writers, and I was like, I think I could do that. My friend Zach had got me into comics properly. I used to read them as a kid, but not lots or anything. But got me into comics properly while I was in university, and I read a lot of them because of him. So Zach, if you're watching this is your fault. So I started reading comics a lot. I thought I could probably do something with this. I could make a comic book. And at the time, I'd also started work on a short story series, originally titled Death Quit Dancing, but then just retitled Drake and Mort, based off of the idea of the character of Death and the character of Dracula being sort of old friends / master and servant. It's based off of something I'm not going to say yet. I'm going to wait until the comic's been out for a while before I mention what the idea is based off of. But let's just say it's a video game, and if you're a fan of the NES, you probably know what it is. The short story was basically a snapshot in the lives of the two characters I mentioned, Drake and Mort, as they met up, with a lot of sort of implied history between the characters and just sort of rapport that they had that clearly showed they'd known each other, and that was it. It was a few paragraphs long, it wasn't huge, and I thought I could turn this into 3 issues of a comic book with options to make it a whole series if it gets liked enough. So, if you like it, please buy it, because then I'll make more of them. I basically took the short paragraphs of the story and converted them to a comic script using a few examples of I got my hands on some Sandman Comics scripting, or something along those lines anyway. I think it was something by Clive Barker? I don't know, I'm pretty sure it was him who'd done a comic book, and I read a script of that so that I knew how to format a script correctly, because having mainly worked in film, I didn't know how. Sent it off to him. Mark, who is the editor at W Comics, who is a great guy, liked it, said, yeah, that's something we can work with, and has since then been working his butt off trying to find artists who are willing to illustrate the comic or able to illustrate the comic. We've gone backwards and forwards with different styles of it, and he's gone through different editorial processes and a bunch of other stuff to basically get this comic to be a real thing. The main difference is, I would say, the transition from the short story to the comic book, is that the main character of Mort, who, spoilers, is Death, the personification of people dying, yay, was originally a very sort of vaguely light-hearted, but not insane kind of person, and in the comic book he is very much an insane person. He's not wacky, but he's just kind of a bit all over the place, and that is intentional. That's not just bad writing, I think. I don't know, people seem to like it. I hope. And the other thing there was I made Drake, who is Dracula, spoilers, more of an asshole. The big transition, I think, the big change that came over the story is obviously it had to be extended from a few paragraphs, which would have been, and is in fact, 2 pages, I think, in the actual comic book now, of the original story, to be lengthened and have a universe that surrounded it and supported it. And a big part of the change was I made it more comedic. The original story had jokes here and there, sort of, they weren't really jokes, but it was just about the interaction between these 2 characters. And when it became a comic book, I had to switch focus from it being just 2 characters talking and their implied history with each other to the main character being the focal point and the people who interact with him and who he interacts with and the way he just is. I think that the addition of a lot of characters and a lot of new locations was also a big thing, because originally the story was set in Wales, because that's where I was living at the time. I changed that to be set in, I think, Ireland, as far as I remember, in the comic. I should remember it's my own comic, but I don't. But as far as I know, it's set in Ireland, partially actually based off of another book series I've read. It's called Skullduggery Pleasant, probably heard of it. That's set in Ireland, and I liked a lot of the locations that I saw when I was researching places that this could be set, so I chose Ireland. Also, a friend of mine, Gary O'Driscoll, is from Ireland, and I like to think there's some kind of tangential connection there, so Gary, if you're watching, it's also your fault. As I said, a big part of why this was successful is because of my editor, Mark. I'm not going to try and say his second name, I will put it up on the screen. Not going to say it because I don't want to say it wrong. You know, the other 2 names I'm about to mention, much easier to say, and one of them, frankly cool as shit. Sorry about the bad language, but honestly, if you can't handle it here, don't bother reading the comic, there is swearing everywhere. The next biggest thanks goes to Violet Oakenhart, who is the person who actually illustrated Mort in the end, and like a very, very big thank you to her. She did a great job, it looks amazing, and I really couldn't have imagined it any other way. And yeah, well done on making the main character as ugly as possible, because that was something that other illustrators who tried to illustrate the comic couldn't do or didn't want to do. Making the main character ugly is very, very important to just who he is as a person. Didn't want him to be the generic sort of, ha da 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 da, ha I'm gonna da 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 da, you know, action hero who's all fancy and good at stuff. He's shit, really, genuinely. He can't fight to save a bollock, gets punched a lot. And another thank you to John Vincent, who actually coloured the comic as well. Great work from him as well, getting all the colours to look right, because especially in Malice, which is a plane of torment that exists in the comic book, it's all supposed to be very red and sort of hellish without being hell. And again, the colours on that worked really well, and it just did a good job. On the souls as well, actually, they were supposed to be sort of sickly green, like the stuff from Heavy Metal, the movie, the anthology movie. Yeah, it's supposed to be like that, the glowy orb thing from that. So, well done, thank you for that. That was really good work. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching my video where I talk about the comic that I made and why it was made. Final note before I go on to say about where you can get it and how much for and why I think you should buy it. I would like to dedicate this issue and the 2 issues coming after it to my granddad, William Potts. He has the same first name as me, I was named after him, and around the time I was writing Mort, sadly he died. This coming weekend is the anniversary of his death, and originally the comic was supposed to have a dedication to him in it. I was a bit sort of out of sorts during the writing process and never got round to asking for that to be put in. So this is me making that dedication now. So yeah, bye Grandad. Thank you for just being awesome. And yeah, I think you would have liked my comic if you didn't mind the vulgarity. But thank you anyway for just being my granddad. You were really good at it. Yeah. Sad over. Done. If you like the idea of my comic, or if you would just like to check it out, you can now buy it for £4.95 on Amazon if you want to get a physical copy, or I think £1 to £1.95 for a digital version of the comic that you can just have. I would ask, probably don't need to say it, don't just give it away to people unless you think it's going to make them buy it, just because it's an independent comic. It's not like we have a huge company backing us. there aren't that many of us working at WP, and we need the sales. So if you like the comic, please, please, please buy it, and look out for the second issue coming at some point. If you'd like to keep updated on when the next issue is coming out and how far along I'm doing with it, you can follow me on Twitter. I don't think you need to link to any... I don't need to link you to any of my other things because they have nothing to do with Mort, but Twitter is where I will mainly post about writing for Mort and occasionally about Magic the Gathering, because I just like it. Go to wpcomicslimited.com or wpcomicsltd.com. Don't write the full word, it won't work. For videos, trailers, adverts about all the comic book series that we're working on. There's a fair few on there. There's one quite comedic series about squirrels with just the best artwork in it. It's great. Check that out. It was actually written by our editor Mark, so props to that. We also have Drago Devil Slayer, which is another good series using digitally put together graphics. Just lots of things. So if you like comic books and you want to see more about what we've got, go to there. Thank you for watching my rambling weird video about the comic book I made, because I could. Bye! How do you end videos? I know.